IC Portfolio Committee and other members of Parliament present, all executive mayors present, DG of DTIC and all present, SEZ board members and CEOs, distinguished guests, captains of industry, of international institutions, of the media, ladies and gentlemen, morning and warm welcome to the city. It is my distinct honor to officially welcome you to the second International Special Economic Zones Conference. I extend gratitude to the Department of Trade Industry for choosing our city as the host for this. Your decision underscores the strategic importance of our region and the critical role we play in South Africa's industrial landscape. When we gather under the theme, I quote, reigniting industrialization through that, close quote, we are speaking to the heartbeat of our national development agenda. The work we do here, the partnerships we forge, and the strategies we deliberate on are blueprint for a future where inclusive economic growth is a tangible reality for millions of our people. Your Excellency, Deputy President, we are profoundly honored by your presence. Your unwavering commitment to advancing investment into the country has been instrumental in positioning South Africa as a preferred global investment destination. Through initiatives like the annual investment conference, on your relentless pursuit of investment pledges, you have demonstrated open. Your keynote address our critical deliberations. As the mayor of the city that is home to Durban Trade Port, I can attest to the power of special economic zones. Durban Trade Port is more than an industrial, it is an integrated ecosystem, catalyzing economic activity across our region. Its investment in infrastructure, processing, and high-tech manufacturing are creating, attracting foreign direct investment, and strengthening our city's position as a critical node in the global supply chain. Physically, prosperity of our city, demonstrating how focused industrial policy can lift entire communities. Our strategic location is our competitive advantage. The city is home to the Durban port, the busiest and one of the largest ports on the African continent. This port, along with our rail and road networks, position us as a natural gateway to Africa and the world. In an era of the African Continental Free Trade Area, our city is poised for premier investment across the continent. The core, as we will hear from Secretary for the opportunities for export.
and that earn their place in the global supply chains. And so we return today to the same city, on the same coastline, to answer that question honestly, with the achievements we can point to, and with the candor to say where the program has fallen short. That honesty is the only foundation on which today's theme, reigniting industrialization through world-class special economic zones, can actually mean anything more than a theme or a tagline. This province was not chosen by accident, we would like to believe, and we do not say that the people who are gathered here were forced to come here. We actually believe that actually they wanted to be here because we are a welcoming people here in KwaZulu-Natal. KwaZulu-Natal sits at the confluence of two of Africa's busiest ports, Durban and Richards Bay, a coastline that carries the majority of South Africa's containerized trade, and a railroad network that reaches deep into the interior of our country and to the Southern African development community beyond our borders. This conference takes place at a defining moment for the global economy. Across the world, nations are rebuilding supply chains. Nations are investing in advanced manufacturing. They are embracing the green economy and competing to attract productive investments. Those who create enabling environments for investment, innovation, and industrial production will shape the economy of the future. South Africa is determined to be among those nations. Special economic zones are central to this ambition. They are no longer simply designated industrial sites, but they are engines of innovation, of export competitiveness, technology transfer, skills development, and job creation. For us here in KwaZulu-Natal, this agenda is particularly significant. Our province is home to Africa's busiest container port, world-class logistics infrastructure, King Shaka International Airport, and two internationally recognized special economic zones, the Durban Trade Port and Special Economic Zone, and the Richards Bay Industrial Development Zone. These strategic assets help to position our province, KwaZulu-Natal, as South Africa's manufacturing and logistics gateway to regional and global markets. Ladies and gentlemen, our government of provincial unity has placed economic growth, investment attraction, and job creation at the center of our program of action. Working in partnership with business, organized labor, and municipalities, we are restoring investor confidence by improving governance, strengthening infrastructure coordination, and creating a more enabling business environment. These efforts are producing encouraging results. The inaugural KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Investment Conference in 2024 secured investment commitments of 85.2 billion rand across strategic sectors of our economy. Building on this momentum, the 2025 Provincial Investment Conference secured a further 100.1 billion rand in investment pledges. Together, these commitments amount to more than 185 billion rand in potential investments that will stimulate industrial expansion, create employment, and strengthen our provincial economy. These achievement demonstrate one important reality. Investors believe in KwaZulu-Natal. They believe in our strategic location. They believe in our infrastructure, and they believe in our people, and they believe in our future. Our special economic zones continue to play a pivotal role in this success. The Durban Tradeport Special Economic Zone has established itself as one of Africa's leading platforms for advanced manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, medical technology, logistics, and agro-processing. Similarly, the Richards Bay Industrial Development Zone continues to unlock opportunities in minerals, beneficiation, energy, chemicals, and export-oriented manufacturing, supporting our vision of building a modern industrial economy that adds value to South Africa's abundant natural resources. Ladies and gentlemen, industrialization must not only grow economies, but it must transform lives. It must create opportunities for young people entering the labor market. It must empower women and entrepreneurs. It must strengthen small businesses and help to integrate local enterprises into global value chains. That is why we remain committed to ensuring that investment actually translates into inclusive growth and shared prosperity. The African Continental Free Trade Area represents an unprecedented opportunity for African economies to industrialize together. KwaZulu-Natal is uniquely positioned to serve as a channel for trade across the continent. Our ports, logistics corridors, and special economic zones provide investors with direct access to one of the world's fastest growing markets of more than 1.4 billion people. To our international partners and investors gathered here today, our message is simple. KwaZulu-Natal is open for business. We offer world-class infrastructure. We offer competitive industrial platforms. We offer strategic market access. And most importantly, we offer a government committed to partnership, political stability, policy certainty, and sustainable economic growth. So as we gather under the theme, reigniting industrialization through world-class special economic zones, let us renew our collective commitment to building a globally competitive industrial ecosystem that creates jobs, that expand exports, and unlock Africa's enormous economic potential. And most importantly, that ensures that no one is left behind, so that all our people may benefit from what we are gathered here to talk about. Lastly, to every investor, to every industrialist, to every official and expert gathered here, KwaZulu-Natal is open for business. Our ports are working, and we are ready to have the mutually engaging conversations at this conference. We will examine what has worked and what has not worked, and what world-class actually demands of us. Let us utilize the rest of today in this conference by simply showcasing what has been built. However, let us also commit ourselves honestly and specifically to what still needs to be fixed. We wish all of you a productive conference, and on behalf of the people of KwaZulu-Natal, Siyanamukela, you are welcome, and we thank you for listening to us.
Thank you so much for your interventions, Reverend Musa Zondi, the Honorable MEC for Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs. And thank you for your candor of saying there's still a lot of work to be done. It's a work in progress. It's not perfect, but the foundation is very, very solid in KwaZulu-Natal and for South Africa at large. Thank you also for reminding us that the first iteration of the SEZ Investment Conference took place right here in KwaZulu-Natal under the theme Moving Towards Excellence. And what you were able to do was to measure what has transpired since then. And I think I can boldly say, in that 7-year gap, we've moved from a handful of SEZs to 13 that we saw represented today. So that's significant progress. And with the investment pledges you referred to, this fresh impetus to just keep investing, building, expanding. That it's people, but the region at large. So industry of trade. Truly,
the MEC for Economic Development in KZN, the Reverend Musa Zondi, MECs here present, the Mayor of eThekwini, the Cyril Kaba, that's the Mayor correctly. I'm pretending like I didn't know what to do. Your Worship, the Mayor of eThekwini. I might just be chastised for not doing that. The Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Mzwandile Masina, and members here present. Chairperson of the Select Committee, Ms. Sonia Boshoff. The SEZ Advisory Board Chair, Mr. Fish Matlalela. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, Captains of Industry, investors and SEZ operators, ladies and gentlemen, Sanbonani, good morning. The DTIC has recalibrated its focus through the Cabinet-approved Industrial Development Strategy, which is a calculated strategic response to the country's conjunctural economic challenges. The anchor challenges the strategy responds to and seeks to address are deindustrialization, declining industrial capacity, low growth and backlogs in infrastructure. It responds to these colliding challenges through 3 pathways: decarbonization, the transition of industrial production towards low carbon technologies, and cleaner energy systems; diversification, the expansion of our manufacturing base and export markets; and lastly, digitalization, the embedding of productivity-enhancing technology across industries. Special economic zones are one of the principal instruments through which we pursue all 3 pathways. They are the central spatial delivery mechanism for the industrial development strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, the global evidence rather for this instrument is well established. More than 7,000 SEZs operate worldwide. In China, national level SEZs contribute 22% of GDP, 45% of foreign direct investment, and 60% of exports, having created more than 30 million jobs. South Africa's record, while smaller, is real and has untapped potential. 13 SEZs are designated across 8 provinces. Excuse me. 224 companies operate within them with a combined investment of 31.7 billion rand, a net increase of 17.2 billion rand over 8 years. In these 13 SEZs, 28,821 direct jobs have been created. The DTIC has backed this spatial investment program with 12 billion rand in infrastructure support. It is also why we commissioned the independent World Bank review of the SEZ program. The review identified 5 programmatic specific weaknesses. 1, too few private sector developed industrial parks. 2, insufficient non-financial incentives. 3, no formal intervention processes for underperforming SEZs. 4, limited use of build-to-let mixed-use models. And 5, weak service level coordination with host municipalities. On the operational side, it flagged inconsistent access to fiscal incentives between older and newer zones, and monitoring and evaluation that covers too small a share of the program. A gap that 80% of surveyed stakeholders said should be closed through formal SEZ grading systems. A parallel study by Gibbs, working with the Gauteng OR Tambo SEZ, reached a similar conclusion from a different angle, namely that our SEZs lack the fiscal and regulatory advantages of successful global models, and the benefits that do exist are concentrated in too few zones and too few beneficiaries. Rest assured, we have not treated these findings as criticisms to be managed. Rather, we have built them into the revised SEZ implementation model, which sits inside our new spatial industrial development strategy. The strategy consolidates spatial industrial support under a single plan per district municipality, merges the industrial park revitalization program with the SEZ program, and commits a cluster development approach built around each region's competitive advantage. Ladies and gentlemen, the conference exists to pressure test that model against the relevant people and institutions who will have to make it work, namely the SEZ operators, investors, provincial and local government, and our development finance institutions. Understandably, this SEZ conference takes place at both a challenging and opportune moment. South African goods are now facing more competitive global markets due to increasing trade barriers such as tariffs and trade remedies disguised as environmental policy. This is not a reason to retreat from export-led growth. Instead, it is a reason to diversify where our exports go. As you are aware, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area gives us access to a market of over 1 billion consumers. Several sessions over yesterday and today will focus on how SEZs can and are converting that access into signed export contracts, not only into policy statements. Ladies and gentlemen, as I was listening to the earlier speakers, I was thinking, sometimes our modesty is our Achilles heel. Because we don't always tell the story of the successes of our SEZs and what they've catalyzed. So if you think about the city of eThekwini, the province of KZN, and the interventions in the North Coast through the investment in an airport. I know most of us landed in an airport, but many of us don't always reflect that it is actually an airport that is recently built. It didn't exist pre-1994. Not only is there an airport there, it is attached to a special economic zone where you see industrial development. So when we talk about the Durban trade port, we don't always say that actually this is a special economic zone that has catalyzed the development of the North Coast. We don't always talk about the reality that close by is a casino license that was awarded. And let's look at what the results have been. Palito used to be a small village town. It is now a central node that exists there. Very soon we'll be launching the Club Med Leisure Park. On its own, a significant investment happening in the North Coast. When you drive along the North Coast, you witness what happens close to Mhlanga, the development of the Isibaya development complex. On its own, a massive nodal development. These did not create themselves. These are the results of conscious strategic investment by the state and strategic spatial interventions that yield and produce results. But when we talk about it almost as if it is a by-the-way thing that has happened, when in fact it is the result of direct interventions through policy and investments by the state. So it is therefore apt that when I introduce the Deputy President, I should introduce him as a champion of development in his own right. Indeed, the Deputy President translated the vision of the Gautrain in Gauteng into reality. The Deputy President championed the implementation of the Innovation Hub in Gauteng, central in the capital city of our country, enabling innovation, science, and research to take place to take forward industrial development and growth in our country. Talking about special economic zones, he championed the OR Tambo ITZ and its establishment. So when we celebrate OR Tambo, we can also attach a name to OR Tambo in terms of its champion. Indeed, even as Minister of Arts and Culture, the Deputy President championed the Mzansi Golden Economy, translating what we look at as leisure into an industrial and jobs creation opportunity. I therefore take this opportunity, and it is indeed my great pleasure and privilege to welcome to the podium His Excellency, Deputy President Paul Mashatile.
Thank you, Minister Tau, for that introduction. Greetings to our program director, Ms. Lerato Mbele. Greetings to Reverend Musa Zondi, MEC for Economic Development, Tourism, and Environmental Affairs of KwaZulu-Natal, also representing the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Mr. Thamsanqa Ntuli. Greetings to Your Worship,
the Executive Mayor of eThekwini, Councillor Cyril Kaba. Once again, greetings to South Africa's Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition, my brother and friend, Mr. Pakstau, and also Deputy Minister Zuko Godlimpi. Let me also extend greetings to all ministers, deputy ministers here present. I'm told that Deputy Minister Pinky Kekana is also amongst us, Deputy Minister of Public Service and Administration. Let me also extend greetings to all the MECs who are present here amongst us, executive mayors, but also the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee of Trade, Industry and Competition, Mr. Mzwandile Masina, and the chairperson of the Select Committee, Mrs. Hildegard Sonja Boshoff. Let me also extend greetings to SEZ Advisory Board Chairperson, Mr. Fish Mahlalela, and all the CEOs of our special economic zones and industrial parks. Greetings to all ambassadors and consular generals who are present amongst us, and all members of the diplomatic corps, international partners, distinguished investors and captains of industry, and of course, development partners, not forgetting labor and community leaders amongst us. Greetings to our friends from the media who always ensure that we tell these good stories that Minister Pakstau was talking about. I'm very happy that you are also here, and greetings to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Sanbona. Firstly, thank you, Executive Mayor Kaba, and thank you, MEC Reverend Zondi, for the warm welcome, and also Minister Pakstau for setting the scene of the conference. It is indeed a privilege to attend the second International Special Economic Zone Conference here in Durban, a city that represents the transformative potential of special economic zones, which we all call in short SEZs, in promoting investments and inclusive growth. Durban is the leading marine gateway in sub-Saharan Africa, with the port of Durban as its centerpiece. The city is a critical node between the industrial interior, particularly Gauteng, and the global markets, handling a large portion of South Africa's seaborne goods. Its progress from a colonial trading post to an important international hub is based on centuries of history, strategic industrial policies, and continuous infrastructure development. Today, Program Director, the legacy of strategic infrastructure and industrial development is exemplified by the Durban Trade Port and the Durban SEZ. These initiatives are driving investments, innovation, and economic transformation, particularly the linking of the Durban trade port with King Shaka International Airport and the port of Durban, which handles more than 60% of South Africa's container traffic. It is therefore fitting that we have gathered here today to advance a national project of spatial and industrial transformation. At its heart, this project is focused on building a more productive, competitive, and inclusive economy. This includes the creation of sustainable jobs, the expansion of opportunities for enterprises, and the restoration of dignity through meaningful economic participation for all people. As President Mandela once reminded us, and I quote, "Overcoming poverty is not a gesture of charity. It is an act of justice. It is the protection of a fundamental human right, the right to dignity and a decent life." Close quote. Our SEZs are in many respects an expansion of the vision of creating the conditions for investment, industrialization, employment, and shared prosperity, so that economic growth becomes a pathway to economic freedom, dignity, and a better life for all South Africans. This task extends beyond any single province. Across our nation, from KwaZulu-Natal to Limpopo, from the Eastern Cape to the Northern Cape, SEZs are unlocking regional potential, strengthening industrial capacity, and connecting local enterprises to regional and global markets. They are also strategically positioning South Africa as a gateway to the African continent and supporting the broader vision of an integrated, industrialized, and prosperous Africa. Indeed, this is a vision rooted in a strategic choice South Africa made nearly 3 decades ago. In 1997, we introduced the Industrial Development Zone program to create world-class industrial hubs that would attract investments, boost exports, and drive industrial growth. Recognizing the power of strategic infrastructure and supportive policy, the program laid the foundation for a more competitive and diversified economy. Over time, it has evolved into the Special Economic Zones program, with a broader focus on accelerating industrialization, creating jobs, and driving inclusive economic development in South Africa, but also across the African continent. Honored delegates, a World Bank study has concluded that South Africa's SEZ program has proved successful so far, attracting 14.8 billion in revenue and creating more than 30,000 jobs across sectors like the automotive manufacturing, agro-processing, and also renewable energy. Key benchmark projects such as the Tshwane Automotive Special Economic Zone and the Kucha Industrial Development Zone in the Eastern Cape serve as primary drivers for skills development and downstream supply chains. We have learned valuable lessons since Kucha was designed in 2001. By 2010, government had invested more than 3 billion rands in Kucha alone, attracting 21 investments valued at 9.2 billion rands and generating more than 2,000 operational jobs. However, some of these investments were not new, but had relocated from elsewhere due to weakened municipal service delivery and township integration, leading to those zones risking becoming enclaves. In response, in 2012, we shifted to special economic zones under the SEZ Act, and today, under the leadership of President Cyril Ramaphosa, we are entering a third phase, the Special Industrial Development Strategy. To ignite manufacturing-led industrialization, the South African government has identified key sectors categorized into 3 areas. First, decarbonization, aimed at low-carbon technologies and climate resilience. Second one, diversification, focus on expanding the manufacturing base for value-added goods and export markets. And third, digitalization, emphasizing the integration of productivity-enhancing digital technologies across industries. The Industrial Development Strategy aims to increase the manufacturing sector's GDP contribution from 12%, as manufacturing has significant multipliers to reduce socio-economic issues like unemployment, especially amongst the youth and women. The Special Economic Zones Program is a key mechanism for this reindustrialization agenda. And after more than a decade, it's crucial to evaluate its impact. As former Deputy Minister Majola once said at the SEZ CEOs Forum, and I quote, SEZs and industrial parks are critical players in South Africa's industrialization agenda and economic growth. But they will not succeed unless we improve performance in each of the SEZs. Close quote. This therefore requires fully operational, well-resourced SEZ supported by reliable infrastructure, efficient regulation, and good governance to drive industrialization and attract investments and